I was sitting at home the other night, absolutely doing nothing. I had no television on, no YouTube, that is, because I don't watch television, I only watch YouTube. I was sitting there, it was in the quiet, and there was absolutely nothing going on, nothing wrong. Everything in my life was absolutely fine, but I had this little niggling little feeling in the pit of my stomach, in the back of my mind, something I couldn't really put a reason to, and it's just there in the background, niggling away. And I think I felt it because I wasn't doing anything else. If there was something else to preoccupy me, I just wouldn't have noticed it. So that tells me that that's going on all the time, until we don't notice it until we actually turn off all of the stimulus. And it felt it, and it was like, it was almost like I couldn't almost tell it was happening, but it was. But I also knew what it was. I knew what it was at the back of my mind. I knew what it was, and we talked about this before, but I want to talk about it again because it's something that affects us all, I think, and we can't talk about it enough, really. And that was little circumstances, little micro circumstances, little things that build up, one thing on top of another. I knew what this was, actually. I'd been worried about Molly's health, but Molly's all right now, so that was gone. But there was this like residue of worrying, so that was left, just the tail end of it, like the tail of a comet. The little meteorites were still burning up in my atmosphere. And obviously I've got this membership thing starting up. Well, it's actually started up now, but I'm kind of worried about that, because obviously once you start putting things behind a paywall, it's like it takes on a different dimension. You've got obligations, you're worried about things, you're worried about the quality of stuff, you're worried about, are people going to like it, you're worried about, are people going to resent it. But I mean, I shouldn't be, really, because the normal channel this is going out on, is going to be absolutely fine, and we're going to keep putting content out to our wonderful subscribers and viewers. But it was like little things like that, little tiny things that on their own, in isolation, don't really mean anything. But when they put together, drip, drip, drip. It's like the difference between the drip, drip, drip of raindrops on your head and somebody pouring a bath full of water over you. One is an inconvenience and the other is a bloody nuisance. Let's put this into a real world scenario, something that everybody across the globe can understand, no matter what country you are in. You run out of milk. That's all right, that's not really a problem, is it? You run out of milk and a light bulb goes. That's not a problem, it's a bit of an annoyance. You run out of milk, a light bulb goes, and you get a letter saying you've got an unpaid bill. Oh God, not another of them. You run out of milk, a light bulb goes, you get a letter saying you've not paid this bill, and you get in the car and he's filling up with petrol, and you're like, oh God, I didn't need this, really. You run out of milk, a light bulb goes, you get a letter saying you've got an unpaid bill, you get in the car, you realise it's run out of petrol, you go to work and you have an argument with somebody, and by this time it's all building up. By this time you're thinking, oh, for God's sake, what kind of a day is this going to be now? And all those are little singular micro problems, aren't they? But we don't see it. We never see it like that. We always see the problems in life as a whole. We see them as a collective. We see it as one great block. We see it as a big battleship that takes forever to turn. But they're not actually. Why do we see everything like that? When we talk about stress, we talk about stress. We don't talk about the stresses. We talk about mental illness. We don't talk about the mental illnesses. We talk about everything as this singular big problem. So then we have to head it off and go to a therapist and deal with it as a singular big problem. When it's not, it's actually a series of little problems that, broken down and identified on their own, are pretty insignificant and easy to deal with. I was sitting the other night, like I say, when I got this feeling, and I was actually sitting quiet in the environment that was actually ideal to cope with these situations, wasn't that? You need somewhere quiet where you can identify things. We need to identify these things. I'm not good. I need to write things down. I need to get things from here to something tangible that I can hold in my hands and read. So I do that, and we have to identify each of these and deal with them. And even then, if there's a few of these micro things in your life going wrong, these little things that build up into one big thing, identify one and deal with it. Don't try to identify them all at the same time, because you'll just forget things, won't you? You'll identify one, then another one's there that you will have forgot. So just identify them one at a time. And I think we need to do this. And it kind of gets less and less. Other things will be coming in all the time, because that's life. But we need to identify them one at a time to deal with them, because each one of them on their own is insignificant. It's when they become the collective that they become the problem. So everyday stress, the stresses of everyday life, the stresses that build up, the insignificant stresses, the little stresses that as single entities are nothing, aren't threatening to your pocket, your well-being, your mind. They're just part of life, and they all build up. But because they are all insignificant, when they build up, does that mean we should just live with them, or say, well, it's just life? They're all insignificant. None of these are gonna kill me, so do I really need to bother about them? But that doesn't make that niggling little feeling go away, does it? So do we just not bother about them and accept them as part of everyday life for everybody on the planet? Or do we kind of attack this Gordian knot and try and unravel it and get to the core and get each of these entwined pieces of shoelace and get them all out one at a time and deal with them? Get all these bits of shoelaces out one at a time, put them in a drawer. One at a time, put them in a drawer, and then it gets easier because they get less, and they get less, and they get less. And in the end, even though more are coming along, because that's life, you kind of come to the end of the ones that are there. And you will notice this in your mind, in your head, in your well-being, in the lack or less stress that you're under. You will realise that you are actually unravelling this Gordian knot. And it can't be a bad thing, can it? What do you do if you've got a problem that's not really going to cause you any great angst at the end of the day? Or it may cause you angst, but it won't affect your life. If you've got that and you think, well, it's not going to affect my life, it's not going to throw me out of my house, it's not going to mean I can't eat, so I'll just leave it. So if you've got problems, but they ultimately aren't existential, do you just leave them? You don't, do you? You kind of solve a problem, even when solving that problem really doesn't have any tangible effects, do you? You do it just as a matter of course. It doesn't have to have benefits. You just do it because that's what you do. There's a woodpecker over there. It's just what you do. Stress isn't a great big demon with green scaly skin, big teeth and pointed horns coming to eat you up. Stress is just a bunch of little schoolyard bullies, little insignificant people who together get courage. They're emboldened when they're together. But on their own, they're cowards, they're nothing, they're easily dealt with. And that is how I think is a good way of approaching stress, everyday stress, the build-up stress, the little stresses, not the big stresses, because we know there are those out there, big things that happen in your life, losing a loved one, losing a business, finding out you've got an illness that is kind of a threat to you. But the little things in life, the little running out of milk, the light bulb blowing, the letter saying you haven't paid a bill, the car running out of petrol, the little spat you have at work, they're insignificant. All they need doing is sorting out one at a time, or at least identifying that they aren't one big mass entity coming to beat you up, that they're just a lot of schoolyard bullies, that if you can get in between and separate them from each other, they'll go crying to the mums and calling you the bully. I think sometimes it's like preaching to the converted, because you're all very intelligent people out there and you all actually know it. But sometimes it's nice to hear it, isn't it? If you know something, if you've got a solution to something, if you can identify a problem, you know it in your own head. But if somebody can come along and just confirm that, if somebody can come along and say, yeah, you're right, because that's what I feel like too. I had a load of flies in my house when the weather was hot, little ones. And I cleaned the kitchen, I was disinfecting everything. I thought, where the hell, what's happening, what's rotting, what's going wrong here? And then I spoke to my next door neighbour, and she says, have you got these little flies in your house? Because I'm going mad, I'm cleaning everything. And I said, yeah, we're both the same. This is it, I've just confirmed it. And then immediately we both felt better about it, because it had been niggling us. Nice to have things confirmed by people. Little stresses, little everyday stresses, they're nothing. Save your energy for the big stresses, because they will come down the line, no matter how blessed you think your life is, just how organised you think your life is, how privileged you think you are. It doesn't matter who you are, you can get a terminal illness. It doesn't matter who you are, you can go bankrupt. It doesn't matter who you are, you can run out of milk. So don't run out of milk. Or at least, when you run out of milk, buy another bottle of milk as quick as you can. Otherwise, you've created a little micro stress. Do you get me? And we shall see you on the flip. Peace and love.